Hello, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I am going to be sharing my updated sunglasses collection. Now it's actually been 7 years since I last filmed a sunglasses collection video, so I feel like this one is very way overdue, and I am sorry for those of you who've been requesting this regularly. I'm sorry it's taken me this long to finally get around to filming an updated version. Now, for those of you regulars, you will all be aware by now that I am an avid sunglasses wearer, regardless of the season. So come sometimes rain and definitely always shine, I will have my shades on. And this is just because I like to protect the skin around my eyes from UV rays. So regardless of the season, I will always be wearing sunglasses, and that I feel like is probably why I have so many. Now, looking back at my old video, I have noticed one sort of big difference between the then collection and the now collection, and that is the variety, shall we say, of brands that I have. In my current collection, I only have 2 brands. One is RayBan and the second is Celine. Now, I'm very aware that with these 2 premium brands comes a premium price tag. So what I'm going to do, as well as encouraging you guys as always to check the pre-loved market, so we're talking apps and sites like Vinted, Depop, eBay in some cases, obviously being very careful when it comes to authenticity, but I'm also going to spend a little bit of time online and I'm going to try and find some affordable alternatives for you guys as well. So those will all be linked down below in the description box for your reference. Right, let's get stuck in with my first pair of sunglasses. I'm going to start off with RayBan as a whole category first, and I'm starting off with these dinky little dudes because these are my oldest pair of sunglasses in my collection. So these are my RayBan round foldings, and as you can see, they fold down. These are actually near impossible to get your hands on now. I can't find them anywhere in the UK in this particular style, size, colour, all that kind of stuff. And I only found 1 pair in the US, but they're not actually the same size and style as these. So these RayBan round foldings are probably impossible to get your hands on now. I'm going to pop them on so you guys can see. So these are my oldest pair of sunglasses, as I mentioned. I've had these for over 10 years now. Anyone that's been following me potentially on Instagram for that length of time will remember these. They were the sunglasses that I wore in pretty much every single outfit photo that I posted on Instagram 10 years ago, and probably for the next 5 years or so following that. So with regards to style, these are a round lens and they have a gold metal, very, very slimline frame. So one of the bonuses of this is that they're incredibly lightweight. And this is something that I think RayBan does very well. RayBan, obviously, is a sunglasses brand. It's what they do. They're not a brand that has branched out into sunglasses. They are sunglasses, and they do them very, very well. It's no surprise that they are the world's #1 sunglasses brand. And one of the things that I love most about RayBan is the fact that they are lightweight, but they're also comfortable and they're durable. So these ones are very, very light, very, very slim, but they aren't delicate. They're not the sort of thing that you have to be careful with. I have dropped these, well, I've lost count of the amount of times that I've dropped them, or that I've put them on top of my head, or put one of the arms down my top when I'm sort of not wearing them and I've bent over, they've fallen off. They've probably been on the floor more times than they've been on my face, and the condition still looks amazing. So that's one thing that I can really attest to when it comes to RayBan, and I've obviously got a lot more in my collection, but it is their durability. So therefore quality is absolutely top notch. Moving on to RayBan pair number 2, and these are my Meteor Reloaded. So these I have had for 8 years now, and they were actually a limited edition re-release of the 1960s very popular style Meteors. Now, these were released 8 years ago, very, very limited edition. There was only 200 pairs made and 3 different colours, but there was only 200 pairs made including those 3 colours, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure how many of each colour were made, but there were only 200. So at the time they felt very rare, very, very special. Since then, however, RayBan have added the Meteors back into their sort of general selection of sunglasses. So the Meteors have very much made a comeback. Now, these ones I have in the sort of black shiny frame. It is an acetate frame, so that means it has no adjustable nose pads inside, whereas all of the metal frame sunglasses and eyeglasses will always have the adjustable nose pads inside. So it's just something to bear in mind when it comes to trying them on. I would never order a pair online if they're sort of the acetate kind of frame, because you don't know if they're going to suit your face or not, whereas with the metal ones you can adjust the nose pads, so generally speaking they're always normally going to suit pretty much any face shape because you can adjust where they sit on your face. Now these ones, again, just like my first pair of Ray-Bans, very, very durable. They are often a go-to for me when it comes to summer and really, really sort of bright days. I feel like they offer a little bit more coverage around the eye area, and because the frames are a bit thicker, again, that just adds to shielding more of the skin around my eyes, which is the primary reason that I wear sunglasses all year round. But also the black lenses, even though they are polarized, I just find that they have a really good blockage of UV rays. So in some pairs of sunglasses, some people might often find that they're still a little bit squinty behind when you're wearing them, but with these I just find that they're absolutely perfect for really bright sort of sheer sun days. Right, we're going back to RayBan rounds now for my third pair, and these are the RayBan round metal flats. So I'm going to pop them on. The main difference between these and my first pair of RayBan rounds, aside from the fact that these do not fold down, is that the lenses are smaller on these. So you might be able to see a very, very slight difference with regards to the size of the lenses. As I mentioned for the first pair, the one thing that I found really appealing about those is that they had this slightly larger lenses. So they were the 53mm and these are a 50mm. So you will often get little print behind the bridge of numbers, and that signifies the size of the lenses and the distance between the lenses. So these are a 50, 21. So 50 is the size of the lens and 21 is the bridge gap between lens to lens. Now, as the name would suggest, these do indeed have flat lenses. So this is when you're looking from a side profile, the lenses are completely flat, whereas on most pairs of sunglasses, including my first pair of RayBan rounds, the lenses have a sort of arch shape. Now, one thing that RayBan have actually done recently is brought out something called RayBan Reverse, where the lenses are concaved. So the lenses actually dip inwards rather than being flat or outwards. So there's lots of different styles now. It can even be a little bit overwhelming when you're looking on the RayBan site, or even if, like me, you buy all of your sunglasses duty-free at an airport. There is just so much choice. And I have a new pair coming up that I did buy recently at the airport, and I was in deep conversation with the guy in the sunglasses hut, and he was telling me all the different RayBan sort of shapes of lenses and styles of lenses that they have on offer now, and it was mind-blowing. So do your research before buying a pair, because there are so many different options to consider. Right, moving on to pair number 4. These are the RayBan Hexagons. So again, they have a metal frame, but if you're not particularly a fan, or if you don't think that a round lens sort of shape suits your face, I personally do. I quite like the round lens shape on my face, but if perhaps it's just not for you, these are a really, really good option. They're kind of like a little bit of a hybrid. So they've got a more square shape on the top, and then it's a little bit more rounded, but still with those angles of a hexagon towards the bottom. So they don't feel quite as, I don't know, sort of 60s in shape as the sort of solid round shape of lens. And pretty much all my points about my other metal frames stand for these as well. So very lightweight, adjustable nose pads inside, durable. Again, as with any of my sunglasses, I do drop them quite a lot. It's not deliberate, it's just that I do have a habit of putting them on top of my head or tucking them down my shirt or my t-shirt or top or whatever, and then I bend down and they fall out, and it's just one of those things that I am guilty of doing, and they are still going strong. I have yet to break a pair of RayBans. I'm now looking for some wood. I need touch wood, touch log, because I don't want to break a pair of my RayBans, but I think it just goes to show how durable they really are, even when they have quite a sort of dainty metal frame like this. Right, now pair number 5 are also another pair of RayBan Hexagons. However, these are Hexagon Flats. So in a similar way to the RayBan rounds in the all black colourway that I showed you guys earlier, these have a completely flat lens, which is only really visible from a side profile, and technical wise or like practicality wise, I'm not really sure if there are any benefits to that, or performance benefits, pros or cons. I think it is more just an aesthetic that you can, from the side profile, they are completely flat and they don't have that curve to them. Now, these ones have polarized lenses, and these lenses are classed as green. So this is probably one of the most popular lenses that you will see on the RayBan site, and it's called Green G15. Now, I know that that's going to put a lot of people off, but trust me when I say they do not look green. My first pair of RayBans, the folding ones, they also have the same G15 lenses. These do, and a lot of my other pairs also do as well. Do not be put off by that. I can assure you, when you're looking through them, they don't give a green cast, and when you're looking at them, they don't look green at all. These to me actually look black, or even like a dark grey. So they don't look green and they don't give off a green cast. So that's all I will say. It's some sort of RayBan magic, and it must have something to do with the UV rays, and that's why they opt for that colourway. On to pair number 6, and no RayBan collection would be complete without a pair of the iconic Aviators. Now, the Aviators were very much made a solid icon thanks to the 80s film Top Gun. That is what blasted this particular pair of sunglasses to fame, and they have remained a solid icon ever since. So, of course, they are a core staple within RayBan's collection of sunglasses. You can always find them, and you can always find them in a plethora of different colours. I, again, went for the black. I just find that they're a little bit more minimal in terms, or in comparison to the gold colour. And I love black. I think we all know this by now. I don't think this is a spoiler alert. I do just love black. And I also like black sunglasses because I find them very easy to pair with any kind of outfit. But granted, the Aviators are probably my least worn pair of RayBans out of all of the RayBans that I have. And I think that's just because they do have a very specific look to them. There is no real escaping that 80s Tom Cruise vibe, so I think that's very much why they're not necessarily my most worn pair of sunglasses. However, because they do have slightly larger lenses, they again offer, and they have this sort of egg-shaped that's turned on its side kind of shaped lens, so they do offer a little bit more coverage around the eye area, especially the under eyes. So if you are looking for a pair with a little bit more coverage around the eyes, then these are also another good shout. Right, now on to my final pair of RayBans, and this is actually my newest pair. I bought these at Orlando Airport when I was coming home from my recent trip to Disney and a week-long Caribbean cruise. So these are my latest pair of sunglasses and my latest RayBan edition. They're called Bernard or Bernard, however you want to pronounce it. And I feel great about that, to be quite honest with you. These are my Bernards. How good does that sound? These don't seem to have a style name. They actually have a human name, the Bernards. Now, these are an acetate frame. So again, they have the molded frame, no adjustable nose pads inside, but they do have the round lenses, which I think by now you guys have probably realized that I'm quite drawn to a round lens shape. I personally think that they suit my face shape. I'm sure someone out there is going to disagree, and I'm sure you will let me know that. but I really like them. I think they suit my face, and even though they're a little bit thicker in comparison to the metal ones, they do still feel incredibly lightweight. So going back to that point about RayBan knowing exactly what they're doing, they are top of the crops, top of the pops, top of the crops, I don't know, whatever that phrase is supposed to be when it comes to sunglasses. Right, we're moving on now to my second brand, which is Celine. So these are my baby Audreys. These are by far one of the best-selling pairs of Celine sunglasses and have been for the last decade, I believe. I am ashamed to say it and slightly scarred and traumatised, but this is actually my third pair of Celine baby Audreys. I believe they are cursed in my possession. Unfortunately, I have lost 2 pairs prior to these. I'm hoping this is my third and final pair. So it does make them, in theory, when you calculate all 3 pairs together, my most expensive pair of sunglasses. But they are also my most worn, joint with that first pair of RayBan round foldings. Again, for any of you that have followed me on Instagram, you will have seen these sunglasses time after time after time. Now, the main difference between these and the majority of my RayBans is actually the weight. As you will see, they are an acetate frame, and yes, the frame is a little bit chunkier, but they definitely have more weight to them in comparison to any of my RayBans, especially any of the RayBans with the acetate frame. They do definitely have more weight to them, and I can feel them on my face, especially if I've been wearing them for a longer day. Sometimes I do need to take them off and give my face, my nose, the bridge of my nose, just a little bit of a break, and often I can get a little bit of earache from them resting on the top of my ears as well. So that is one thing to mention, that these definitely feel much heavier than any of my RayBans. And now on to my final 3 pairs of sunglasses, all Celine, and they're all the same shape, which is this TRIOMPHE Oval, I believe they're called. So I have these in black. I also have them in tortoiseshell, or I think it might be called Havana. And these were actually the original pair that I bought. All 3 pairs that I have in these were bought last year in 2024. These were the first pair that I bought, the tortoiseshell ones, and I bought these because I already had the baby Audreys in black. So I thought, you know what, if I'm going to mix it up and I'm going to have a slightly different style of Celine sunglasses, I'll go for tortoiseshell. However, I got the tortoiseshell ones, and then, as I should have suspected, I wanted them in black because I found that I was wearing them a lot. I just found them really sort of chic, sophisticated, and yeah, I just wanted to get them in black. Now, I was originally looking for the all black version of these because they do come in black as they are here, but with a black logo so that the logo is a little bit more subtle. But unfortunately, impatience kicked in. I couldn't find them in stock anywhere, so I did end up buying this black with the gold logo. And I'm actually really glad that I did because I do like them with the gold. It ties in with a lot of my gold jewellery. Now, in terms of style of these, they are an oval, which I do again think that they do suit my face shape. It was nice to have a slightly different shape because I have no other pairs of oval sunglasses. However, they are very reminiscent of the 60s. So there is that very sort of 60s vibe to them. I personally think it's a solid vibe. It's not something that's going to date. And I think these are another pair of classics. Now, my third colourway. These I spoke about recently in my worst purchases of 2024 video. These were an impulse buy. These were a pair that I did not need. Not that I need any of these, but these were a pair which I, in hindsight, should not have bought. But my ADHD got the better of me and I did go on a little spree and ended up buying these as an impulse. By no means do I hate them, but they are my least worn pair of Celines and my least worn pair of sunglasses, just because the colour of them is a little bit tricky to sort of pair with things, even as a neutral lover and as someone that wears a lot of black. They are a little bit tricky because they do have along with this oval shape, and they have the brown lens and the very sort of 60s, 70s brown colour. They do have a very sort of retro look to them, which I do find a little bit tricky pairing with different things. That said, I'm still glad I have them in my collection. I just think if I had the choice to buy them again, I wouldn't. However, the black and the tortoiseshell styles, very much favourites of mine. Well, there we go. That is my updated sunglasses collection for 2025. If you have a favourite pair from my collection, I would love to know which ones are your faves, so let me know down in the comment section below. But for now, that is it from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.